Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, I made Birria Pizza. I've seen this several different places on Instagram, but I kind of loosely followed Plated by Dee's version. I'll have it linked in the description box below. I've got this Trader Joe's beef birria. You just cook this according to the package instructions, and y'all, this beef birria, it was good. It was delicious. I can see why everybody's kind of like freaking out about it. It was really yummy. Okay, so I've got my oven preheating to 425 degrees. I'm going to take some of these non-crust. I just had these in my freezer. You can use like the non-pizza crust, or you can use whatever pizza crust you want. I'm going to take a little olive oil and brush that over the crust. Then I took the birria and separated it from the broth. I'm going to brush some of that yummy broth on the crust, followed by some shredded mozzarella cheese. I then took some of the birria, put that on top of the cheese, followed by a little more shredded mozzarella cheese, some shredded Colby Jack cheese. And you can use different cheeses here. I just used what I had on hand. Now I'm going to add some diced white onions. And then I can't remember what seasoning Dee used, but the seasoning I had that I felt like was the closest to it was this Birria Mojo Citrus. So just a little sprinkle of that. And then I'm going to pop this into the preheated oven and bake this for about 10 to 12 minutes until the crust is golden brown and the cheese is melted. Here are the plates. So I sprinkled some chopped cilantro and a little more of the raw onion on top. And then we've got some of that broth to dip the pizza in. And this was delicious. This was so yummy. And then I think it was the next day for lunch, I used the leftover beef birria to make some quesadillas. So good. I had some pork tenderloin in the freezer I needed to use up, so I decided to do fried pork tenderloin. I did not follow a recipe for this. What I did was I sliced up the pork tenderloin into somewhat thin slices. I mean, I didn't do them like super thin because I didn't want them to overcook, but I also didn't do super thick, if that makes any sense at all. I seasoned the pork on both sides with some salt and pepper. All right, now for my dredging station here, I've got 2 eggs I whisked up really well. And then in this container, I've got just some regular all-purpose flour. You can add whatever seasonings you want. I'm going to do some paprika, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. Now, you could keep this super simple like my grandmother did, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of people's grandmothers back in the day did. They tended to keep their seasonings simple and just do salt and pepper. But yeah, I decided to add a little garlic powder and paprika. I'm going to give that a good mix, and then I'm going to take my pork, add it to the flour, dust off the excess, place it into the egg mixture, dip it on both sides, and then back into the flour. So you're going to do flour, egg, and then flour. And I like to use my hands and just really kind of pack the flour on and then shake off the excess. I'm going to set that to the side and continue until I've got all of my pork ready. Now, some people do like a buttermilk soak on their pork. You can totally do that if you want. So here I've got some oil heating up in the skillet. This is on about medium heat. Once it is hot, and if you saw, I just added a little sprinkle of the flour, and when it kind of bubbles up and dissipates really quickly, your oil is hot. Now for the pork, you don't want to cook these very long at all. 3 minutes on the first side and then about 2 minutes on the second side until the pork is done to, I believe it's 140 or 145 degrees. I can't remember off the top of my head, but just Google it and double check. So I'm going to remove the pork to a wire rack and then make the gravy. So I removed all of the oil from the skillet and then added back in 2 tablespoons. I'm then going to add in 2 tablespoons of the seasoned flour from earlier, and then I'm going to cook that for a couple minutes. And then I had out the evaporated milk for something else, and so I just decided to add the evaporated milk. You could use regular milk, cream. You could also use chicken or beef broth. Just give it a stir, whisk it until it is thick to your liking. For the seasoning, I just added a little bit of salt, and then I ended up adding some pepper right before I served it. And yeah, that was the gravy, and here are those finished pork chops. All right, so in this pot here, I've got a little bit of butter, some brown sugar, cinnamon, and then this can of fried apples. I got this at Aldi. I just found it in my pantry, decided to cook these, and I just simmered them on medium heat for about 10 minutes or so. In this pot back here, I've got a can of white shoe peg corn with a little bit of butter, salt, pepper. I'm going to cook this on medium heat, again, for about 10 minutes or so. Here is that gravy. And a quick tip, as gravy sets, it will thicken up. You can just add a little splash of milk in it. Here's that finished corn. And then I did Mandy in the Makings green beans. I've shared this so many times before on my channel. I'll link that in the description box below for you. And then we've got those fried apples. Now, I also made some instant mashed potatoes and then just doctored them up a little bit with some butter and milk. All right, here are the plates. So we've got the fried pork tenderloin, the apples, the corn, the mashed potatoes, and then I've got the green beans. Gary didn't want any tonight. This dinner was delicious. I've been craving this, and everything was so good. The next day was Cinco de Mayo, and so I did chicken enchiladas. Disclaimer, these are not authentic enchiladas. Please do not leave me little nasty grams in the comments below about how these are not authentic. I know that. I don't claim that they are. They're definitely more Tex-Mex Americanized version of chicken enchiladas. But let me walk you through how I made these. For the chicken, I had some boneless, skinless chicken thighs in my freezer, so that's what I'm going to use, but you could use chicken breasts if you'd prefer to do that. I have about half a packet of this Kinder's taco seasoning I'm going to use up, and then I'm going to make just a little bit of chicken broth, just maybe like a half a cup or quarter cup with some water and this chicken bouillon powder. I seasoned both sides of the chicken thighs, placed them into my crock pot, added like some, maybe about a quarter cup or so of the chicken broth, and then I cooked these on low for about 6 hours. You want to cook them until they are super fall apart tender, and then you can shred them by hand if you want. I just used my little meat chopper and went to town, and yeah, this chicken mixture was so yummy. It was delicious. All right, so I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees. I like the Old El Paso red enchilada sauce. That's what I'm going to use. Use your favorite brand or make your own. I'm going to add that to a greased casserole dish, just a little bit of the sauce rather, and then I'm going to take some tortillas. I warm these up in the microwave. Now, I'm using flour. That's what I've got on hand, first of all, and second of all, that's what we prefer. I know corn is more traditional, or traditional rather. If you want to use corn and you want to fry them in oil and, you know, add the sauce and all that, please do that. Like I said, this is just a quick and easy Tex-Mex style. So I'm going to add some of the chicken mixture to the tortilla, add some shredded cheese, roll them up, add them to the casserole dish, pour some more enchilada sauce on top, add some more cheese, and then this is going to go into the preheated oven and bake for about 20-25 minutes or so until it's bubbly and the cheese has melted. And then I had some cilantro, so I added just a little sprinkle of fresh, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Now, I was going to make my own Spanish Mexican style rice, but I found this in the freezer and I really need to use it up, so I just cooked that according to the package instructions. I found it at Trader Joe's. And then I made some refried beans. This is Kent Rollins' recipe. I've shared this a couple times before on my channel. These are super easy and they are delicious. I'll link that in the description box below for you. Here are the plates. So we've got the enchiladas, and then we like ours with sour cream, green onions, and some cilantro. We've got the refried beans and then the Spanish rice, and this was a yummy dinner. This next night, we did a yo-yo night for dinner. Yo-yo means you're on your own. So Gary wasn't hungry at dinner time, and I really didn't feel like cooking anything, especially just for myself. So I warmed up some of the leftover green beans, mashed potatoes, and corn from the pork tenderloin night. And then I had a package with just 2 hot dogs in it, and so I just seared those in a skillet on top of the stove and then added a little bit of barbecue sauce the last minute of cooking. And then Gary made himself some fried egg sandwiches. He just fried a couple eggs, added some sliced Colby Jack cheese, added it to some toasted bread with a little bit of mayonnaise and ketchup, and then yeah, that was dinner that night. For dinner the next night, neither one of us was super hungry, and I wanted something quick and easy. We were both really busy that day, so we just did bologna sandwiches. Now, I started out going to do fried bologna for both of us, but then I decided I didn't want mine fried, and then after seeing Gary's, I changed my mind and regretted it. But I just kept mine super simple, just plain bologna, a little bit of mustard, a sliced tomato on white bread. For Gary's, I fried it up in a skillet, added some sliced Colby Jack cheese, a little lettuce, tomato, some mayonnaise and ketchup, and then Gary had some Lay's sour cream and onion chips with his, and I had some Doritos. So for the last dinner in this week's video, like, I was just in one of those moods where nothing sounded good to me, and I was scrolling through, I think, Pinterest, just trying to like get some sort of inspiration, and I saw these honey mustard chicken tacos, and that, for whatever reason, it looked good, so I was like, hey, I want to try to recreate this. I didn't follow a recipe for this. Like I said, I was just inspired by a Pinterest pin. I will put that in the description box below for you. Here's what I'm going to use to make these. I had this bag of Tyson chicken strips in my freezer, so I'm going to use those. I've got this bag of the bacon crumbles from Sam's Club, some fajita-sized flour tortillas, some shredded cheddar cheese. I chopped up a Roma tomato, shredded up some lettuce, and then I made some homemade honey mustard, just some mayonnaise, mustard, honey, a little salt and pepper. I don't follow a recipe. I just kind of eyeball everything, but you could use your favorite bottled homemade, not bottled homemade, your favorite bottled honey mustard. I cooked the chicken strips up in the air fryer, 400 degrees, for about 12 minutes or so until they're cooked all the way through and crispy. I warmed up those tortillas on top of the stove, just dry skillet, and then laid down some of the lettuce, the tomato, the bacon, the cheese, the chicken strip, and some of that honey mustard. And these were yummy. I mean, it's a chicken wrap. That's basically what it is, just less tortilla than a wrap, which I actually liked. And then I had made some homemade honey. Why am I getting the homemade and the honey mustard confused? Some homemade ranch dressing. I was doing some meal prep, and so I made Gary one of these with some ranch dressing, and he, of course, loved it. Can't go wrong with that. And then for the side, these are just the Alexia sweet potato fries. I cooked them up in the air fryer and added some of the Kinder's brown sugar garlic seasoning. I love that combination. And yeah, that was dinner this night. Gary ate later than I did. I didn't get a picture of his plate. I just forgot, but it was the exact same thing as mine. Just one of his little chicken tacos had ranch instead of honey mustard. But yeah, that was dinner that night. All right, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.